And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Freestyle with Wavepunk and FINDABLECARPET. It's a new and brave new world now. We are. Oh, I just realized the chat box isn't gonna work because it's through Streamlabs. So there's a blank chat. Wait, is there some way I can do this? Is there a way I can? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, if you just take it from your screen. Screen capture.
Yeah,
I'll chat while you do that.
There is a way to do this. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that Twitch is down, and we usually do this podcast on Twitch, or this whatever this thing is, this talk show on Twitch. So, yeah, everything's a little bit different, and so we're just like, I've done YouTube streaming before, back when I worked at TCU, actually. We streamed all of our concerts through YouTube, so I was a little bit familiar with their platform.
Interesting.
And it was just as simple as just like changing stream keys, sending it over. And here we are.
If you'd like to fiddle with that, I can entertain everybody.
Yeah.
First of all, Kevin Naki, welcome.
Welcome, Kevin.
One of the
glad to get
best
the link.
hosts that Rocket League has ever seen. Axeltoss, I hope you're not watching.
He's also one of the best.
Oh yeah.
They are both one of the 6.
I won't say live on air who I think the best is, but you'll get a DM from me later, Kevin Naki.
Love it.
I was super sad I couldn't be at the Universal Open to host with you, man. That would have been a serious blast. And like, what a weird come full circle thing, right? Like I remember when I first got contact from you, I was like, I'm gonna get an interview on XM Radio. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And like, who's this guy, Kevin Naki?
That was back if you said anything that was like, oh, I've heard of that brand before.
Yeah.
We got so excited. I was like, wait, we get to be on a Machinima show? Oh man,
yeah.
I can't wait for that. Wait, nobody watches this Machinima show? That doesn't matter. It's on Machinima, you know?
Yeah, and then when I did the interview with you on your Twitch talk show, that was really cool too. And then when I heard you doing Rocket League, I was like, oh man, we've come such a long way. We've come like full circle. It's so cool. So I definitely hope to see you around again. I really hope that you're still somehow involved with the Rocket League scene in some sort of hosting and/or stage hosting and/or casting persona. I'd love to be side by side with you on a desk someday, man. That'd be a blast. So anyways, how's it going, everybody? We're gonna hit some interesting topics today. This might be our last one for a little bit. Is this 4?
I think so. This is 4. When we were shooting for 5, and you got sick last week, so we couldn't do that one. And we were saying we were going to do 5 up until RLCS starts. And RLCS is next week. It's in like 2 days, 3 days. So
it'll be kind of by ear. If me and Wave really feel like doing it one week, we'll do it 1 week. But this is kind of our last scheduled one for the time being. Because on top of it, once Rocket League starts and then Clash starts for me, I'm going to be busy Wednesday, Thursdays. And then if another show comes up, I'm going to be absolutely swamped. So I'm going to do what I can. But yeah, today's topics, we're gonna. I know last time you guys really enjoyed it when we hit all the super deep.
Hit the super deep stuff, yeah.
The super deep stuff. You guys enjoyed it a lot more than we expected. Me and Wave were like, oh, we're gonna lose all the viewers. We gained like 10 more during that, and by the end, everyone's like, my life has changed. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? So we're gonna do one of those today. I've been doing a lot of internal thinking as I try and delve into this weird quarter life crisis that I'm going through right now. Yes. So that'll be fun. We're gonna do some music stuff. He's got something to show me. I've got something to show him. We're gonna talk about some events that he's been going to. Just ignore what's going on screen.
Yeah, if you can't,
ignore it.
If you can't tell, Carpet is filling for time right now.
Yeah, I'm filling for time while Wave figures out how to get chat up on his stuff, so that you guys, when you watch this later on YouTube, which everybody does, you're gonna send it to your friends and family and say, you guys should check out this really cool talk show that might never happen again.
We're up about 1,000. Okay, we're getting somewhere now.
We're getting somewhere. Look at him go. He's working on it, folks. And in the meantime, let's have a chat. You guys can ask AMA, a 3-minute AMA, real quick. What else we got going on? We're gonna talk about. What was the other thing? It was your events that's been going on lately.
Okay, so what was the second topic?
Music.
Music. Oh my God, coaches and esports.
Coaches and esports. That'll be interesting because I really hope chat chimes in on. And I think that's going to be a lot more speculation on Caleb and ISAF because that is a very, very new and touchy topic in general. You've seen it successful. Honestly, it seems that the bigger an esport gets, obviously the more it makes sense to have a coach and a manager, especially with big teams like League of Legends. You have 5 people that need to learn how to communicate, be healthy, not kill themselves by playing too many games and eating nothing but Twinkies. I mean, it's just easy. It's easy to eat really crappily. I'm a victim of it. You play games for 8 hours and you don't want to take a break to go make yourself a nice salad. Instead, you just order a fucking pizza.
Do you see the chat?
It's working.
It technically exists.
It technically is there. It doesn't look fantastic, but it is there. It is actually incredibly tiny. So just don't type too fast. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 7 being the highest, what color of the alphabet is your favorite?
Oh, man.
Dogs.
Yeah, I would say blueberries, but I think, honestly, I'm going to leave the chat like that just as a commemoration of the fact that this was on YouTube and this was last minute, and like usually it looks so much prettier than that, but that's the way things are today, and we're just going to move forward with the show. Thank you for filling carpet while I dicked around with that.
You know, that's my thing.
So, first, the first thing we're going to talk about, and I'm going to find a better song for us to talk over, because this one is nice and boisterous, and I love it, but I got to go 2 weeks ago to LCS for the first time.
Yep.
It was they're like $15 tickets. If you live in the LA area and you work in esports, I highly encourage you go at least once. Like, even if you don't care about League of Legends or, you know, MOBAs or anything like that, it's a great experience to see kind of the only esport right now that exists with its league format existing in a LAN setting. It's the
everything League of. If you are playing any game professionally in League of Legends, it is going to be in a LAN setting. There is no way.
I mean, I think maybe their Challenger Series happens online, but as far as professional,
If you're top dog, it's only LAN.
I'm pretty sure it is the only esport that happens that way, where it has a league. Like you could look at like Dota, where it works in a major system, and it basically goes from tournament to tournament to tournament, and those are all
same with CS:GO. Like they both do majors and minors, which is kind of a way to do that, right? It's like you just do a bunch of mini LANs, but League of Legends is the only one that does like a league style where you're keeping track of stats and you qualify for a thing, and it's still all LAN.
Yeah, where teams in a division are playing round robin and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see the way that they like animated things, the way that it was if you had what's the word I'm looking for? If you had like if you scored Baron, if you scored Dragon or something like that, it would like pop up on the back LED wall behind the team that scored. It'd be like Dragon, this team, and stuff like that, kind of like you do have at sporting events, And the one thing that they had that I wasn't necessarily expecting them to have was a crowd hype guy. And that term, crowd hype guy, I don't know if that's an official term, but I'm going to use it today. I'm going to be using it a lot because it's the common thing between every show we're about to talk about on this segment, which is of the shows that I'm talking about. LCS was one of them. They had a guy who would come out and he'd be like, guys, when we come back from break, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. I need you guys to get hyped and loud because we're on TV for people. It's going to be awesome, right? Okay? And if you guys are good and loud, I'll come and I'll throw free merch at you, okay? It'll be fun, And people did it. It was great. They threw free merch. I almost caught one bounced off my hand, but didn't quite get it. That's
only you
okay.
were more athletic.
I don't even know what it was. I think it was it might have been a Poro.
Baby Poro?
Or it might have been the little dudes that Bard has. I don't know what those guys are.
Oh, yeah.
The little like bell people,
Yeah.
They just make the bling sound or whatever.
The tree spirits from Princess Mononoke.
Sure. We'll go with that. Yeah. So, anyways, I don't know what they were. He was throwing stuff at me. It would have been cool to get one, but they actually had pretty decent concessions as well. So it was a fun experience.
I'm not surprised.
The next thing I went to,
they have Nitro Thai tea on tap for shit's sake.
Oh yeah, right. They didn't have that. They didn't have that in the arena.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, they did have like big jumbo. They had something called a donger dog, which I'm just like, that's
pretty great.
Heimerdinger is such like a. Everything about Heimerdinger is almost a euphemism,
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't he even say like, look at the size of that? No, I'm thinking of what's his name? Torbjorn. Torbjorn says, look at the size of that thing.
Oh yeah, Torbjorn.
And he's basically Heimerdinger, but
I mean, they both run by Blizzard, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
I shouldn't say that out loud.
Anyways, so went to LCS. Next week, went to America's Got Talent. Now, I personally don't really care about America's Got Talent, but all of my roommates watch America's Got Talent, and it's fun. It's cool, and they get really into it. One of them used to watch it when it was like live on TV, and he would always like vote and everything. And now he watches.
Who used to do that?
Oh, Squints. Squints was always.
I'm not surprised.
He got really into it. And then like now we watch it online digitally, so like a little bit afterwards, but they still were following the season. They were like, guys, we live in LA now. We can go. It's free tickets, but you have to like sign up and then you have to like get in line early and stuff like that. And we actually got really good tickets. We were like 3 rows behind the judges. Like I could have like spat on the judges and hit them, and probably could have like made it to the judges to like say I love you before the security guards got to me. Like I was that close. So that was really cool.
I don't know which of those judges you'd say you love, to be honest.
Oh man, if I had to pick one, probably honestly Simon Cowell. He was the only person in the room that I was actually excited. Like, actually was like, oh, that's so cool. It's Simon Cowell.
Yeah,
right there.
that's true. He's got a lot more of like to his name, right?
And it's, to me, just he's someone that, like, as a TV personality, he's the only person I've ever like really respected. I felt like all the other judges on these sorts of shows are just like, I'm trying to make you feel good about you, and he's like, no, you sucked. I don't like it, you know. And so I love that about Simon Cowell, and he actually is like a decent talent agent that actually has like produced successful artists and stuff. So I thought he was cool. I would have enjoyed meeting him. Didn't really get to interact with him at all, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. But they had a guy named Chuck, and Chuck was the TV hype guy, the crowd hype man person. I still need an official term for this job. And his whole thing was the exact same sort of thing. He'd be like, if you get really hype, I'll give you free merch, you know, throughout the show and during the breaks and stuff like that. And he was great. Of the three people we're talking about, he was probably the best. I have to believe he was a theater major because he was so just like extroverted and just like carry himself like he was performing to get us to perform. Because his whole thing, and this is a common trend between both these shows, was you get to come to this show, but you are now on TV. You are now performing.
You're part of the show.
I need you to be hyped, exactly. And it was crazy how he would like just go, and he got his crowds roaring. He would get them at the exact right moments. And what was also interesting was, for the first time ever, we had the same sort of thing at the Universal Open. There was a guy named Stunna, who's a CSGO analyst, and whose job was just to tell the crowd, hey, we're about to come back from break.
Was he also the guy that's like, Fireburner scored?
Yes, which I loved that was something they did. And the thing was, like, Stunna is a traditional esports talent kind of guy.
Yeah.
He does a job like ours, but for CSGO. And then he gets there, and he's expecting himself to have kind of more of a Awesome Joey or Axel Toss's job at the Universal Open. He was kind of expecting more of something like that. And then that was just basically not what they needed him to do. And I think that, like, I loved him. He did the best job he could. I don't think his voice is necessarily exactly the right for it, you know, for being like 1 minute left in the game, you know, like the stadium announcer voice. It wasn't like right up his alley, but he did a really good job with it, and the crowd reacted well to it. It was a really cool concept that I was not expecting to see, especially the first two shows. Like, it was, I knew kind of like I've been around a lot of shows, having worked in theaters, having worked in esports and stuff like that. Yeah. But as far as live broadcast television, that was something I'd never been to a studio for live broadcast television with a studio audience, and to see that there's a dude whose job is just to manage the studio audience was really cool.
It's really interesting to see that. I mean, I didn't see it. I haven't been there.
Yeah.
But just in general, I feel like it's that kind of constant reminder that people need. Now, and I'm just going to do a tiny rant about America's Got Talent. My parents watch that show. Like I don't want to say religiously, but they watch the show.
Okay.
And I used to still love sitting there watching it with them. And then now all the show is like 60% what's going on stage, and then 40% some idiot in the audience going like, oh.
So the funny thing,
it bothers the shit out of me because it's all we see any now. It's like it's so frustrating.
Well, what bothers me isn't actually the crowd reactions. It's the sob story, like montage stuff of like, let me hear your story of where you came from. And like personally, I know that's a big part of why they're on the show. Like that's why the show does so well, is that people are like, oh, I can relate. I've had similar experiences as this person has. I know what this is like. Now I have a connection with them. I personally don't care. I don't care where you came from. I just want to see good talent. You know? I want to see America's normal people got talent. I just want to see America's Got Talent. Period.
I think it was like 2012. There was a guy who won it, and this is also when I almost like boycotted the show.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this. Keep going.
Awesome. There was some really cool creative stuff. Like one of the first times you saw like dancers with the lights and the glowing stuff on like a perfectly pitch black stage, so they could turn on and off and do really cool stuff. And they did it to I forget what that EDM band was. It was like a really cool electronic band that I loved for the longest time. But it was like a college crew, and they had this really creative, unique thing. Yeah. There was a bunch of other unique ones, and then just like some country bumpkin. So he was a chicken farmer. I'm a chicken farmer.
I remember. Yeah, I catch about.
I'm a chicken farmer from I don't even know where the hell.
How
he was
many
from.
chickens you catch in a day? Oh, I probably catch about 1,000 chickens a day. I remember this guy.
You know, and I was raised on a chicken farm, and I don't know, like his parents died when he was like 1.5. I don't know what it was. It was a horrible story. I'm not gonna lie, but he was the most mediocre musician I've ever seen. I could have won that year, Waypunk, and I know I suck at music, but he was so garbage.
But
and he won. He didn't just like do well. He won. And I was like, the show has nothing to do with talent anymore. The show has nothing to do with America's Got Talent. It's who gives a shit about who the most.
See, the thing is like you couldn't have won,
sucked.
Carpet. You couldn't have won.
Because I'm not a chicken farmer.
Because you're not
Alabama.
a chicken farmer.
Oh,
exactly.
God. I would have just been like, I never had struggles in my life because I was a white dude from a middle-class neighborhood, and I want to have a struggle, and this is my songs about me not having trouble.
Yeah.
Like, I don't...
I drove to my job at Chick-fil-A.
If I were to Chick-fil-A,
we ran out of chicken.
And I couldn't eat on break.
There's a Family Guy episode about like Stewie and Brian writing songs about being a dog and a baby, and like they get like so popular because everybody can relate to it. Everyone can relate to like being a baby. It's just about like
That's so funny.
It was good. I enjoyed.
It's fun.
I will say also, like, if you live in LA and you're not going to these things that are free, that the rest of the country is like, oh, it'd be so cool to like go to America's Got Talent. Like, it's right here. Just go to it. It was actually really fun.
Don't tell me what to do.
No, go to it.
Don't tell me what to do.
Stop being a little bitch and go to America's Got Talent, man.
Bitch. I don't want to leave my house. All right, there's video games and dogs.
But what was interesting also, like, crowd dynamics is something that's always like really fascinating to me, and the fact that there's a dude whose job is just to manage the crowd and to make sure that they're hyped at the right moments. Like I think most people probably don't think about the fact that like when they come back from break and there's Tyra Banks on the stage being like, we've got 4 more acts for you, and the crowd's roaring behind her. No one ever stops to think about like, why are the crowd? What are they cheering for? Like nothing's happened, And like the first day of the Universal Open, we didn't have. The job wasn't perfectly outlined. They hadn't like ironed out exactly what Stunna was doing, and so he wasn't getting crowd hype before the beginning. And like we come out of the bumpers, and Kevin Naki's going like, "Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Universal Open, presented by NBC and Face It," and doing all this stuff, and the crowd is just sitting in their chairs.
Yeah.
Because they're like, nothing's happened, Joe.
Why would I cheer?
I'm here to cheer for
no
Rocket
one has
League.
Scored.
No Rocket League's happening.
Yeah.
Ergo, I'm being silent, And it was also interesting with the second day, they did it. They tried to like get everybody hyped and stuff. And there were 2 bumpers that played at the beginning, or 2 like pre-roll stuff. And there was one that Kevin like voiced over, like 4 regionals have built up to this thing, and here we come. It's the Universal Open.
Yeah.
And then they rolled like the RLCS style like intro with the cars and the boxes and everything. And it was really cool. And they counted the crowd down like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, make some noise before they rolled the first one. And the crowd's making noise through the entirety of the first one, which their mics are not hot. They don't hear anything, right?
Yeah.
And then they basically got petered out by the time that we got to the actual point we needed them to be hyped up, And it was just interesting to watch, like, you could be doing all the right things, and if you just do it just slightly the wrong moment, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And like crowds are fickle things. So it was very interesting to watch. It was a cool experience, but all 3 of those things were. It was funky to me to look at like 3 very, very different experiences that all actually had very, very similar, like especially that one similarity between all of them.
Yeah, and my only live audience experience is at the RLCS lands, and we don't have that. Like we don't have the hype man.
Yeah.
Generally, the audiences are pretty good on their own, especially in game. In game, they're usually pretty dang good. But I can definitely see like the potential need for like, all right, guys, we're coming back from break. Like, how is everyone excited to be here? Blah blah blah. Like, all right, we're coming back in 5, 4.
Yeah.
Do it for the cameras, everybody. 1, yeah. Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And some guy sprints off the stage while it pans over, and everyone's just cheering for no reason at all.
It was honestly exhausting. Like I felt like I had been at like a 3-hour football game.
Yeah.
After one episode of America's Got Talent.
How long were you there for?
You were okay. So you would get seated around 4. The show was filmed from 5 to 6, and they filmed a pre-roll thing from like 4:15 to 4:45. So like. You like the 4 to 5, you were kind of doing some cheering and stuff as he was like, all right, folks, let's practice getting loud for a moment,
Yeah.
And he would try and do this different stuff, but it was really basically from like 5 to 6, you were just on your feet screaming the whole time,
It was only 1 hour?
Yeah, it was just an hour show. But it was a results show. It wasn't we didn't actually get to see any acts perform.
Oh, lame.
It was slightly different. We just couldn't get the tickets for the other one. So yeah, it was an interesting experience. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time. But since we got a little bit of a late start here, we'll have this be a little bit of a brief segment, and we'll get back on track here now that it's 6:30. When we come back, going to be talking about esports coaches and managers.
Esports.
It's in the game.
Exactly. In the game.
So we'll see you guys in a second. When we come back, we'll have more about esports.
Be right back.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Very quick, brief break, and we'll get back into the action here of the freestyle with Wavepunk and Findable Carpet. We've talked a lot about esports on this show because that's what we do. That's what we are all about on this in this industry. That's why we live in LA. And a thought with a lot of people. You look at esports. Vast majority of teams across the spectrum of the industry don't have coaches. Okay? Don't have a coach, don't have a manager. There's 4 dudes, 3 dudes, 2 dudes, 1 dude, however many is proper for their format, who just play. And they've figured out how good they are by themselves. And now that we're starting to become more of an official official sports industry, one of the common things in sports industry is coaches and managers. And you have teams that are starting to pick those up in various forms and fashions. And the way that those roles are conducted is very, very different. And there's no one who's really figured out exactly what the best way to do it is. So, Carpet.
Wait.
What do you think about that?
Other than jamming the hell out.
I'm impressed I was able to keep on track that much. While you were
I was expecting you to laugh sometime during that. Well, I mean, just to compare it to everything else in life. So the last 4 or 5 months I've been working full time at a production company. And it is, it is a smaller company in the scheme of mastermind giant companies. So a unique insight that I get into this is you get to see the growth of a company. You get to see, the inner workings of who sits where and why. Mm-hmm. It's not just like, this guy's your boss. It's like, this is why this guy's your boss. Or like, if something changes, like, okay, we have to move this guy here. This guy is in charge of these people. And it's not so that I can just have responsibility, or it's not because I've been here longer, make me manager. It's so that things can run smoothly, because when you have 4 people working on things at the same time or doing certain things, there's something needs to make that, there needs to be cohesion.
Sure.
And I'm not going to want to go to 3 separate people every friggin' day and figure things out. But I go to one guy who knows what all 4 are doing and can help us all work together and keep things on a stable ground.
Yeah.
And I'm using this as an example because I think that's just how people are.
Sure.
Like, I know it's like company and business, but with anything, you do a student project in college and you have to do a group project with a bunch of weirdos that you don't know. There's always one person in charge. There's always one person that's going to be the leader, and if not, your group never gets crap done, because who knows who's talking to who?
Sure.
Who knows who's actually doing what work?
Someone has to lead.
Someone has to lead. And I think if you're going to do a team, an esports team, any more than one person, probably any more than 2. I think 2 people can figure it out. If there's 2 of you, you should be able to figure it out.
Sure.
But any more than 2, if you set one person to be the captain and or the leader, it starts to mess with the dynamic of the team. One person might feel more important or start leaving people out, and it really shouldn't be on that person that have the extra weight of being responsible for the other 2, and they shouldn't feel subordinate to their own teammate.
Sure.
So
okay.
that's where managers come into play. And honestly, I think just the idea of a manager, it makes total sense to just the human brain.
Yeah.
Like one person to link all 3 people's thoughts.
Yeah.
It's not like they're in charge. They're not any smarter. They're not any better. Literally just a person to make sure that all 3 people are constantly working on the same wavelength and working together for maximum efficiency and productivity.
Yeah, I think.
Do I think it's good? Yes.
It's definitely. I mean, I think we can both agree that I don't think there's anybody who thinks the coaches are a bad idea, or that they will be a problem. It's just a matter of what role they take or how they function. I think what you're describing is very much kind of more of a manager, and what is how coaches are functioning basically right now, which is as a senior advisor, the most respected advisor of the players listen to, because he's someone who watches their games and says, hey, I was noticing you guys were doing this, maybe change this up in the future and stuff like that. Right now, I don't think there's any esport where a coach is allowed to communicate with the players. Well, except for I think shooters. Shooters,
all FPS.
Yeah, shooters. You have coaches who are allowed to talk to the players while the game is happening. Most other esports, if they have a coach, they have to sit in the back during the games. They only get to talk to him in between, and so the funky thing is that coaches in sports are completely different. The coach is the guy who makes all the decisions, and the players, even if they disagree with the decision, have to do what he says, and if they don't, they're going to get kicked off the team. It's completely different. And the thing is, I feel like sports is better when that's functioning. For exactly what you're saying, one person has a unified vision of what's happening, and they're guiding all the people. If someone who's good at that, your team is going to play so much better. Your star shooter doesn't have to worry about being a team captain. He just has to worry about shooting.
Quick interjection, though. That's for big team sports. You look at doubles and tennis.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we had an e-sport where there were 20 people, yeah, you'd need like, I think like the coach, there'd need to be a one person making all the decisions because there's no way in hell 20 people are all going to come to an agreement.
Yeah.
So I think that works more for like big team sports because you look at like doubles and tennis, or you look at like volleyball. Yeah, they have a coach to guide them, but it's not like if you don't listen to the coach, you're just going to get
Yeah. No, and I mean, and Kevin right now is touching on exactly where I was going with this. That like, while I think that having a singular person who has a unified vision on how to push forward the sport or push forward his team, right now, gaming and esports is so young. There are very, very few successful retired veterans who know enough about the sport to actually turn around and pick up 4 people and be like, I can craft these guys into a winning Halo team, you know? And so right now, all it is that if there's someone who's just his whole job is just to sit and watch the team and go over their VODs and be like, I think this is what's going on, but I'm not actually, I've never been in the situation you're in. I've never actually played at the level you've played at. I can't tell you, I can't garner the same respect that a football coach who is a veteran player of his own and has been around sports for 40 years, who picks up a bunch of teenage kids and says, I'm going to make you into the team I want you to be. You know, I think that once we get to the point where we have that sort of infrastructure, the coaches are going to be not only a full-time career and a much more important job, but they're going to completely change the way the sports are played, the esports are played, but we're just not there yet.
Well, also think about it right now in the scheme of being able to dedicate time to just learning, right? I think if somebody dedicated full-time everything to mentally understanding a game to the capacity of being able to teach and coach and educate, and not even putting that much time into it, if somebody put full time into that, they'd be gods, right? I mean, like, Rocket League, yes, knowing the mechanics and understanding situations are reasonable.
Sure.
But if I spent 8 hours every day watching every single interaction that every single player has with a ball, and I never touched a controller, I'd probably get a pretty dang good understanding of how the game works. Now, obviously, yes, I need to play a bit. But I mean, to touch on what Kevin Nike said and your agreement, I too think that, I mean, it's the problem with Rocket League right now. Who could actually be a coach to these pros? Who can teach them something they don't know?
Yeah.
And again, since it's such a small team, kind of like the tennis doubles phenomenon, where it's like, you don't need a coach. There's 3 of you.
Yeah.
You might eventually, like, hey, the 3 of you keep doing this. Please stop. But I think that for Rocket League, it's going to... I feel like it's going to be that middle ground of, like, manager-coach.
Yeah.
Like, for League of Legends, you probably need just a coach.
Yeah.
Someone that's, like... and especially because there's enough retired and MOBA pros, and especially over in Asia, there are just MOBA players. Like, we have FPS players, and then people that play League of Legends and people that play Dota.
Yeah.
In Asia, there are just MOBA players.
Yeah.
They just play MOBAs.
Yeah.
We don't have that here.
Yeah.
So there are like plenty of just legends that have been playing MOBAs their whole lives.
Yeah.
Or for such an extended period of time, they're like, yeah, they could coach. But Rocket League, I mean, it's not even a genre. It's only literally a year and a half old to be learning the game.
I would love to watch a team. Okay, I think a team like G2. Okay, the problem with G2 is they're failing the fact that Kronovi wants to be aggressive and it breaks the rotation, and then they have a gaping hole in the defense that gets scored on. Like, that's generally what happens. And I think if you had a coach who is in the game as a spectator and watching the game on comms with the team and is actually making decisions, and when you have the players, 2 players could go, one needs to fall back and one needs to move forward, and they don't know which one's which, and they're having trouble communicating, and if the coach is good at making that decision and just saying it, and the players just follow him, though I wonder with Rocket League with how quick the reaction has to be, if there actually is enough time for a coach to do that. But I would be very interested to watch a league happen where you have a coach dictating team plays and telling the players what to do in what situations. Because we as the spectators, oftentimes over the top, I feel like when I'm looking on AutoCam over the top, I can see what players need to do.
To just make players like brainless mechanical monsters.
I mean,
a coach just like
like
Kronovi,
football,
go.
You know?
Yeah. He's at a boost. You, go.
Yeah.
All right, now, keep
and
contesting.
the fact that he's, you know, like when the players are focusing on hitting the ball, it is very difficult for them to also notice, all right, so what are the other 5 people on the pitch doing boost-wise, you know?
Yeah.
And to have a coach who is able to watch all of that, he's not worried about how Kronovi's hitting the ball. He's like, okay, Kronovi's going up. I know he hit it or he's not, and then I'll deal with it if he doesn't. But I'm not worried about him right now. I'm worried about everything else. I think it'd be really, really interesting to watch. The problem is, exactly getting back to what Kevin said, we don't have enough people who, like, when I came up with the idea, I actually wrote up a full, like, kind of idea of how a coaches league would work, and I was like, I can think of like Johnny Boy, and that's it. Maybe myself, maybe Pashy, who would be willing to like coach a team on this. You know, like there's just not enough people who are interested in actually being a full-time coach to make a league like this run right now.
I also what was it?
It was so close.
It'll come back.
Maybe if I play the Jazz again.
I mean, I'm always down for some smooth jams. Welcome back to the Freestyle with Findable Carpet and Wave Punk. Right now we're talking about coaches in esports. As far as coaches go, so to kind of link it to something that's been going through my own head and my own life, just to kind of make this more relatable. As a person in a profession that is new, doesn't really have guidelines, there is no like master sheet I can just refer to as a caster.
Sure.
A lot of it is internal growth. It is horribly straining, super stressful, and all internal. 80%, 90% of the growth that I have has to be self-inflicted.
Sure.
It's weird word choice, but it's kind of true. I have to make myself grow and find out my own flaws and find out what is better and why it is and give myself targets to hit. There's no, like, yeah, you're right, I can go to sports and see what they do good and see what they do bad and see what they do poorly. But even you look at some sports, like, I've got my own qualms of sports announcing. There is some very lackluster professional sports announcing out there that's just, like, going off of God knows what. They're just, like, saying stuff. And esports definitely hits an interesting target because we're always getting new viewers. Football's not really catering to new viewers.
Sure.
It's catering to the audience that's been there for 150 years.
Sure.
But what is interesting is when you don't have someone telling you, hey, you, player, this week I need you to put 10 hours into this. And same goes like at work. If no one tells you what to do, you have to be a pretty passionate person to give yourself work to do.
Yeah, you have to be actively looking for it.
You have to be very self-aware. You have to be very passionate, and you have to want to. There are so many people out there that I know are great people, but if you don't tell them what to do with their job, they won't do crap. Because they're just either A, they're just accustomed to being told what to do, or B, they'd rather not do anything unless they're told to do it. And that's just human nature. You get burnt out. And when Rocket League becomes a job, or this esport that you're doing becomes a job, it's so much harder to say, hey, this week I'm going to work 5 hours on dribbling alone. I'm going to work 6 hours on aerial touches, and I'm going to work 7 hours on contests. That's not going to happen. But if you have a manager who even just kind of knows the game relatively well to delegate those kind of hours to you, like, don't just grind ladder. What the hell's ladder going to do? I want you to grind this specific scenario. Both of you. Go into ones and just contest the shit out of each other until you know how to win every 50-50.
Sure.
Or, like, you just sit in free play. Damn it, and like work on dribbling. Work on dribbling in a very particular way. Work on always going left and then always going right. Working on making sure it's not touching the ground. Work on your flicks from any angle. Make the ball drop in your cart every angle possible, and work on controlling and flicking within half a second.
Yeah, giving people a workout regimen, basically.
Yeah, and I think that would be probably the most useful thing of a manager at almost any stage of an esport. While I do agree that the earlier, the less needed it is, especially because with a game like Rocket League, the players themselves are forming the metas and forming the mechanics.
Yeah.
But like you look at FPSs, like it's pretty obvious to know where somebody lacks. You lack in your flicking skills. You lack in your control. You lack in your movement. You lack in whatever. It's like, hey, I need you to work on this for 6 hours this week. You got Monday for this and Tuesday for this, and then Wednesday you can just do free play. Sure. And that way it gives them like that drive of like, all right, it's a bit of a grind Monday, Tuesday, but Wednesday I get to do what I want, And I think like that kind of still comes. I mean, it's a job, and that coincides to when you're at work. Like if someone at work tells you do this Monday, this Tuesday, but on Wednesday you get to dick around. Like
it's just the concept of accountability. The fact that when you have somebody who you have to tell, hey, I didn't do the thing you told me to, you feel bad, and you'll do it more often. Even if it's just that, if there's more, if it's I'm going to fire you, you're not going to get a paycheck if you don't do it. That's great, but a lot of times with esports, that's not even. A coach can't hang that over a player's head because he doesn't actually pay them, So, but it's all interesting. Jenks makes the point. Greg would make a good coach. I would actually love to see Greg
would make a great coach.
I would love to see. It would be really interesting to see like Gregan and Johnny Boy both pick up like 3 gold tier players, and for a month they do this practice regimen thing you're describing, and they just put together the teams and then they have them play each other. And just like see the play styles that like Gregan develops, the play style that Johnny Boy develops in his players and stuff like that. I'd be interested to see could those players actually like make a difference? Could they make a run at top tier players because they are being unified by a single top tier mind? I think it wouldn't work with pro players or with anybody who's even like champ or higher, because the players would have their own ideas about how things are supposed to be done, which is part of the problem with introducing the idea of a coach who tells players what to do. Is the players really feel like, no, I know what I need to do. So it's picking up players who are like in the gold tiers who are like, admit I have mistakes and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and giving them a coach. It'd be interesting to me to see how far they made it. Also, Fickle, good to see you. I have no idea what you're trying to say in chat.
He's just trying to say that Rogue's going to get second seed.
Hi, my name is Rogue, second seed in the Season 4 of RLCS. They are already second seed. They're already in the league.
Well, he's trying to say, remind us all, I guess. Fickle, make your jokes more apparent so we can laugh at them.
Make me understand. I don't know. What were you going to say?
I agree. I think Rocket League is always going to be a weird monster because it's so reactionary that it's very hard to have set plans at any moment. Like, you kind of know, like, he should be back on defense, but it's still a reactionary thing. Like, he's fallen. He just got bumped back there, and I'm at a boost, so he has to be a defender. Not like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much reactionary play to Rocket League, which is, like, both the beauty and the difficulty of the game, I think, is what makes it so tough to form stories mid-game. Like, and I'm going to relate it to MOBAs just because it's one of the bigger ones out there. Like, with MOBAs, it's very obvious to say, this team has tried to gank 6 times. They're playing hyper-aggressive. They are putting themselves in their opponent's jungle so often. Look at their ward placements. They have so much map awareness. You can build those stories over a 10-minute period. Yes, I heard Gabby saying, like, MOBAs are boring. But at the same time, it's like the whole American soccer's boring because no one scores. Like, there's so much more of a story going on in the game. Control, gaining control, getting the shots on, forcing your way down the field, all sorts of things, kind of like rugby. Rugby, you can have a game where not many things are scored, but you can watch every moment where you gain 1 more yard or meter, like 1 more meter, 1 more tackle, 1 more whatever, 1 more penalty on your side. And it's like with Rocket League, you don't get that as much. You get that more in like the whole game aspects. Like last game, they were playing like nuts. Let's see how this game is.
Sure.
Because it's, again, such a fast-paced reactionary game. At any given moment, everything can change just because somebody changed their mind about a decision halfway through. Or one person decided to press A just a little bit too early, so everybody's screwed.
Yeah.
So, I think Rocket League is its own unique monster in that sense, but I agree with you. I think it'd be really fun to see what would happen if you just gave, like, 2 different coaches, 2 very, like, mechanically strong but not positionally aware teams.
Sure.
And then just, like, watch what they can do with them. And then make them play together, like, over and over again, make them compete in tournaments.
Well, I'd be really interested to see even if they were, like, of equal mechanical skill but not necessarily mechanically proficient, and just to see, like, the strategy is different at the little league tier or at the high school tier or at the college tier, and just to see like how a coach who knows how people play and knows how positioning works boils it back down to fundamentals that are useful for his gold tier, silver tier players who can't do the air carries, can't make Tarzan swing passes. Like it'd be interesting to see how that works. But coach Fickle's saying he coached.
So just for the sake of conversation, Fickle. I'll give you some time to respond, but I'm curious to know, like, what did you do as a coach? Did you more guide them in the right way? Did you tell them what they were doing right and wrong? Did you guys just review replays together and you help point things out? Or were you like the dictator? Like, do this, stop doing that. You're all idiots.
Yeah.
Please stop going for corner boost. Just pick up the pads. God damn it.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know because I want to know like what works, what doesn't work, at least right now, and obviously it's going to change down the future. There is a world relatively soonish in the next 6 months plus that there will be managers and coaches for teams, just if anything to keep them. I mean, you look at friggin' Genesis. What happened? And like they couldn't even practice without yelling at each other and wanting to kill each other.
Yeah.
I mean, you need one person to tell them they're being children. Especially because Rocket League is a very young scene.
I wonder how that like the Genesis situation could have happened if would have panned out if someone could have gone. The party who was getting frustrated could go to a coach and be like, hey, this guy's really starting to frustrate me. Can you talk to him? And then he can go and talk to that guy about like not frustrating his teammates as much, but not necessarily phrase it that way. Just be like, hey, I've noticed these things have been going on. How you doing? Are you doing okay? Let's talk through this. Don't take it out. Don't take it on your teammates. Don't get frustrated with your teammates. And it doesn't even have to bring up the fact that like one of your fellow teammates came to me saying they were frustrated.
And something unique to esports that is not to traditional sports is that you have these players with immense amounts of responsibility and immense amount of eyes on them 7 years prior to when professional athletes usually do. You get your one-in-a-lifetime athlete that's like 18 or 19 that has all eyes on him. That does not happen often, right? You get like one person, but usually it's not until college is done. They're usually in their early 20s. They've had time to be idiots.
Yeah.
They've gone through college. They've gone through like your usual life growth. They've gone through breakups, probably small depression, whatever it was.
Sure.
But these are 16-year-old children. They're kids. They're still in high school. And they have so much on them. And that it's bound to happen. I mean, I don't know what the hell I'd do. I'd probably be a little dick. Because like you want to be right. You're not used to being wrong. You're not used to accepting that there's so much life ahead of you and it's okay to learn that's just not in your head yet, reasonably.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that of all the people that I think need a manager to help them cope with adult feelings, we don't get them. They don't have them. They just need, if anything, a personal coach, just somebody to go to, someone to chat with. Yeah, they can go and chat with each other, but what kind of advice is one 16-year-old going to give to another?
Yeah.
Other than stop being a little bitch, man. It's not a big deal. She's just a girl. You need somebody that has a bit more experience with life to kind of give them that. It'll be okay. Give yourself goals, work towards things. Give yourself something to feel passionate about.
Yep. And Fickle, you can read about. I think I just realized how to resize the chat box so it'll actually work. Also, hi Garrett, good to see you. Garrett's in chat. But yeah, Fickle says it was basically what we were describing earlier of be the senior advisor that they care about. It's interesting to me. He says he was in comms with them during league play games.
Oh, to listen.
So that's really interesting to me. And how much, Fickle, did you do much buffering? Was there ever situations where you were there was a tilt starting to happen and you were starting to and you shut the tilt down and stuff like that?
That actually, yeah. I'm actually really curious to know, stop being children. Just go. Don't make me reach back there. Yeah. Don't make me reach back there.
Don't make me do it. Don't make me come back there and slap your fat ass.
No, I'd be really curious because I think obviously the teams with the bigger orgs are obviously going to get these managers/coaches a bit earlier just because the money is going to be there. But I do think Rocket League is an uncomfortably young esport to have the person who's going to, quote-unquote, give up his potential shot at professionalism to be a coach. Fickle is a exception. Johnny Boy is a exception, but that is two. On the plus side, you really only need 25 worldwide to cover all your top teams, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even less. Right now, you need 8 on each region, which isn't a lot. 16 people total. I mean, it's a lot now when you look at how many pros there are and who need to take that step down. And I do think there's always going to be that interesting, you're not as good as me. You've never been up here. Why do you think you can be my manager /pro /coach? Who are you? And I can definitely see that going on just in general. Glad I'm not on a team with other 16-year-olds. Pretty nice, Garrett G. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge problem. I definitely know people that have.
Wait, isn't Garrett is? Yeah, I'm glad. But Garrett is 16, isn't he?
I don't know. He said other 16-year-olds.
He's we were talking about this at the Universal Open about how Garrett, who was it? Was Garrett and Dapper, and they were like, yeah, we would. They were like, what would you do with the prize money? Like, oh, we'd probably invest it, buy a gift for my mom. It was these are the most mature 16-year-old kids I've ever met.
No, I mean, it's gonna happen. You're going to have to mature quickly. I mean, there have even been situations. Garrett, you and I chatted about it. I'm totally not gonna talk about it publicly, but there's a situation that you dealt with that you weren't happy about, something that you went through that you did that all of a sudden you had to deal with this crappy situation that you didn't know how to cope with. And that's a huge learning experience at your age, dude. That's nuts. I didn't learn that until I was friggin' 21 or 22. I did something that I wasn't particularly proud of, and I didn't realize the effect it would have, and all of a sudden I had to deal with it. I drank a lot, probably, because of it. I think the next 2 nights I drank very heavily because I could. And I couldn't imagine dealing with that at such a young age. And it's both an amazingly awesome thing for you guys to deal with, but also a bit early sometimes. It's gotta feel and I felt for you in that situation. And I mean, a Turtle too. I've talked to Turtle a whole lot. That dude's got so much on his mind. That guy, his brain is just a friggin' 200-ton weight that he deals with every day.
I'm almost done resizing this. Carpet's doing a brilliant job filling again.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Oh boy, there we go.
And I'm glad to hear you're doing okay and doing a lot better there, Garrett. But and that is something that my advice I can give to you is as regrettable as some situations can be, make sure you always understand that there's something to learn, because I kind of stand by the thought of that would have happened to you no matter what. Probably you would have. Because you weren't aware that situation could have happened, there is a 90% chance you would have still made that situation happen on accident, and you would have had to deal with this eventually. So it's always good to look at those situations that aren't terribly great, that you may have put yourself in or that happened because of lack of knowledge, and to grow from it.
Yeah.
I think it's something that I'm dealing with somebody that's really close to me right now is they went through a lot of really, really hard things.
Yeah.
And it sucked, and they blame themselves for a lot of it. But you have to understand, that may have happened no matter what. Like, because like that's a mindset that you weren't aware of to be prepared for and to avoid. So you have to take that situation and just understand that it's a learning experience and to not let it happen again and to use that as the platform to grow.
Yeah, which and then
quite a tangent.
I feel like all this kind of is starting to transition us into what we're going to talk about next. But I think it is a really interesting point that you brought up, that like, you know, these sorts of like the growth of losing your innocence of the world is this cool place and I can't wait to go and like do stuff and like everybody's so nice and everybody's so awesome, and then realize, wait, no, the world sucks and like emotions are a thing, and like that happens to everybody. And to have that happen at the same time, like, hey, be a celebrity too, where you're public, like, oh man, that's definitely a lot to work through.
Just a super quick comparison. Think of how many people you knew when you were 16 in high school, and I think how many people I knew and interacted with, and how many people knew who you were. Now multiply that by probably 16,000.
Yeah.
And now you're a Rocket League pro at that same age. Like, what the shit? You know,
it's a lot to deal with.
It is, as I know, people can get frustrated at so many players and so many kids that are doing maybe dickish things or not being the nicest people. Like, everyone has to take a step back and realize everyone's going to react differently to the amount that they're dealing with at that age. Even 18, 19, 20.
For sure.
It's nuts.
This has been a pretty rambly show, pretty off the cuff show, especially because I keep on being like, hey, just talk for a long time while we figure it out. But you know, that's what streaming on YouTube 10 minutes before before the show goes live happens too. So it's been fun. When we come back, we're gonna talk about. Actually, I'm gonna let Carpet kind of talk about he's got some stuff he wants to talk through about, just, you know, personal, emotional stuff. It was a really good time. We did that last time, so we'll see how it goes. We're gonna take a quick break. But when we come back, we'll get just into the backs of our minds. It'll be a lot of fun, and we'll see you guys there.
Maybe depressing.
Maybe. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Freestyle with Wave Punk and FINDABLECARPET.
Yeah.
We've been talking about all sorts of fun stuff today. This is actually the song I meant to play when we had to break. God, that chord is so pretty. And I was worried that the song that I just played, I tried to upload the entire VOD the first week I showed it to you, and it was like, hey, you can't upload this and have it be on YouTube because it has this one song in it. And I was like, oh, no, that sucks. And so then I told it to play the song, and then Garrett was like, oh, what's this song? This song's so good. And I was like, this is Make It Up to, oh, wait, dang it. This is the song that it got muted on Twitch, or on YouTube. I hope that it doesn't, like, take down my stream because I'm playing a song. I have no idea how YouTube works about that stuff because I've never done this before.
Yeah, just don't monetize it. I think you're okay.
Yeah, I think we're,
as long as you don't monetize, you're fine.
I think we're doing okay. I haven't monetized my channel yet.
I
so.
don't monetize anything. Oh.
I have 500 subscribers, so
True.
I've made about $4 by now.
I just have a couple of crappy ass Rocket League videos and me being drunk.
Yeah.
All right. So last time we helped.
What music you want for this?
It could be whatever, man. Honestly, the happier probably will keep our heads in a good spot.
Happier's good.
Probably.
I'm gonna go find my happy
Probably
playlist.
for the sake of everybody else.
I literally have a playlist called Happy. It's my happy
Oh
playlist.
shit, yeah. So last time we delved on some pretty deep topics. Everyone actually was really interested.
Yeah.
We were kind of caught off guard. We were both expecting to lose viewers because we were just kind
Because
of.
we weren't talking about Rocket
We
League.
were having a super deep talk about ourselves. And for those of you that have been following along, obviously, you know, I've been kind of struggling with a lot of weird things internally. I kind of became an adult, if you will, in my brain, and I'm trying to cope with a lot of crap that happened in my life at the same exact time, and a lot of crap that didn't happen all at the same exact time, and all that just like made a perfect storm of me coping with mortality and also not being able to cope with mortality all at the same time.
Sure.
So one of the big things, and I've talked to my roommate, some of you might know him, Low Five.
Maybe you've heard of them.
You know, just small shout out to him. Like he's helped me a lot. Super stand-up guy, really intellectual, has a great grasp on how he, you know, processes things and how other people can deal with them. But one of the bigger things I've been trying to tackle, and this is something I want to talk to you about, and maybe chat if you guys want to chime in, is we talked about it a little bit last time, but like self-worth. But this was more kind of like feeling satisfaction and feeling what's the word? Not satisfaction. Feeling. What is it I'm looking for? Not worth,
Content?
or satisfaction. I guess content. Content will work. It's also something I would like to feel.
Like finding like intrinsic meaning
Kind of.
within yourself.
Yeah, like what makes you feel good by the end of the day? Like a satisfaction, I think. Maybe like self-satisfaction. So, like, you know, the things that you accomplish throughout a day. Like, right now, my brain has been too much not in the moment, which is what I used to only do, which is what's weird to me.
Yeah.
Up until the age of, like, 22, I just lived by the day because I knew it was futile to go any further for me personally.
Yeah.
Like, I can't control tomorrow. I can barely control if I make it to work.
Yeah.
I can get in a car accident. Maybe
Yeah.
I get a phone call. I have to pick someone up from the airport. Like, who knows, right? Now, I can't hone in on the day to feel my own gratification of what I did that day and who I affected. And I'm so in my own head of like, did I do what's good for me in my career? Am I growing enough? Am I ready for what's going to happen potentially next year? Where am I going to be in 2 years? What's happening? Because of this weird situation that we've been put in with this interesting new career that we've started in this very brand new industry that doesn't really have an end. We don't really, like, what is our end, like our means to an end? We don't know, which is also makes it both scary and awesome at the same time because it's kind of what we make of it. But, I mean, it's kind of to go back on what I said. If there's no one to tell you what to do, you don't know where you're going to go.
Yeah.
And I did with a lot, like, I was going to be an engineer. And damn it, engineering's been around for friggin' hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Someone would have been there every step of the way to tell me what it takes to get to the next step.
Sure, yeah.
Until eventually I become a designer. And in which case I just get to design cool stuff.
Yeah.
And the world is my oyster.
Yeah.
But at least it's still a very confined space of creating something in reality. But this is like something more abstract. Like, yes, commentary's been around for a long time, but esports commentary has a chance to do something brand new, something extra. Anyways, get away from that tangent. I've been trying to figure out, personally, what is my daily satisfaction? Because my goals of improvement are so arbitrary and so long-term that I'll never feel satisfied on a single day.
Yeah.
Of like, wow, I really grew as a commentator in the last 6 hours.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I know it's going to take me 6 years to even feel like I'm okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's such a difficult, daunting task. And
Yeah.
and those little milestones aren't there.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a weird thing.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to be more I've been trying to make it more personal because I realized that I have always had a difficult time connecting with people when I'm not around them.
Wait, say it again.
Like, this is gonna be really weird. This might be a little too intimate.
This is fun. No, I zoned out.
Yeah.
My brain listened to the song for a second. What'd you say?
So just to kind of, when I'm with you, like, so you're one of my closest friends.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm with you, I can feel our relationship. I can feel our bond.
Yeah,
like, not to get too hoity-toity on it, but this is a very 3D, 4D feeling. Like, I can feel us. The moment I'm not around you, I'm not a sentimental person, so I don't attach memories or emotions to things, then I kind of lose them quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So the moment I'm laying in bed, the memory of us hanging out tonight is very two-dimensional.
Sure.
It's very like, I remember being happy then, and I remember enjoying that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how to re-feel those.
Yeah.
And I think it's a problem I've always had, and I think it was originally to save me from bad stuff, because high school, I was a touchy little high school student. But I don't know how to, like, I really miss those days. That doesn't happen to me ever.
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
I kind of need to know how to do that, because I think that's a good way to feel connected still and feel grounded. When you were talking about last time, like, you just kind of sit and realize, like, look where I'm around and look who I'm with. When I lay in bed at night, all I hear is silence, darkness, and loneliness. I'm with no one. Yes, Blair's next to me.
Sure.
But she's asleep, and it's quiet. And my dog is asleep, and it's quiet. And there's a very lonely feeling, because all of my memories and all of my emotions are very two-dimensional.
Sure.
Like, I'm like, earlier today, I remember being happy, but I don't know how to feel it again.
Yeah.
And, like, to kind of tap into that. And that's something that I'm trying to delve into. Of, like, why is that? Was I trying to save myself from something back in the day?
Yeah.
And was I trying to live too in the moment? Like, I was living so day by day that I wouldn't even look backwards, which is super interesting.
That is really interesting, because your question of, what makes you feel like you had a successful day? What makes you feel like I was happy with today?
Mm-hmm.
I've had a few days of late where I felt like I did productive things. I had a productive day of work. But then I came out the other side, and in the evenings, I was just by myself. Like friends were all out doing other things, and I was just literally sitting in this chair being like, I've played video games today. I'd love to play with people right now.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to play with me. So I'm just going to sit here. Maybe I'll play something. Maybe I'll I don't know. I'll get on Albion. I'll do something by myself. But like those... It's interesting to me, like, having that, like, I can also have the days, and I'll go to bed on those days, and I'll feel like, man, today was kind of lame. And then I'll have the days where I sit in I lounge around the house and do nothing. But then all of my friends come over, and we all go, and we have food, and we, like, sit and we talk with each other till midnight. And those days I'll go to bed feeling like today was a good day.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. Like, I feel like for me, it's interesting. I do not have that situation you have of
it's
like
weird. It's really weird
of not being able to reach back and pull on something that happened before and have that make you feel comfortable. Like that's not a thing I've ever had to deal with. But it does have to do with proximity maybe to the moment. Like if I I can look at like there have been times when you weren't free to game with me or something like that that night. And then, like, all my friends were raiding. And those are the nights I go to bed and be like, no one wants to play games with Caleb, Yeah. And, like,
no one wants to play games with Caleb.
And you've played games with me plenty of times, you know?
Yeah,
but, like, I can easily look at those moments and get sad. And I can't, but if we had played that night or if we played, like, the day before, that wouldn't be a thought, Yeah. And, like, it almost has to do with proximity to how close the thing are to it. I don't know. This is a really interesting one. I like this thought.
I'm glad I figured it out that it exists in my brain, but because I was struggling with a lot of like, why do I always feel empty at the end of every day, no matter what I do?
Mm-hmm.
Two things I've been trying to change. Fickle to kind of touch on that. You're happy with the day as long as you haven't absolutely sure you haven't made anyone's days worse. That's a good way to step. For me, I and this isn't like to say that that's not a great.
Does that include yourself, Fickle?
Yeah, right. Don't make your own day worse. Probably not. Knowing him, he's a lot more selfless. I definitely have been trying to. Two things I've been trying to do is one, when I find myself hitting those times where what is up with the day, I try and give myself something productive short term to do.
Sure, yeah.
Like if it's 2 in the morning,
small goal.
If it's 2 in the morning and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm just laying in the darkness and I feel super quiet and I'm just gonna die one day. It doesn't matter. Like when that starts to hit my brain, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna work on like this spreadsheet that I've been keeping track of stats for this thing, and I'm gonna feel super cool about it and get stoked. Or like, I'm gonna like I've been learning Japanese, right? So like maybe I'll just study some Japanese, like feel good about that, like one step closer, because I've always wanted to go to Japan, and I'm also kind of a minor weeb. I love
Sure,
anime.
yeah.
So that's like something to educate myself, and I can see the steps of growth, which is again in my job and my career, like the steps of growth are so abstract and arbitrary and so personal. My growth is only on me. No one's gonna come up to me and say, "Hey, I noticed that the way that you've been transitioning between certain segments of the show has really been improving, Carpet.
Yeah.
I can really notice that you've been working on that." Like, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Because there's just not enough people adept in the craft that I'm around enough that are analyzing what I'm doing for that to happen, which is totally reasonable.
Yeah.
It's new, it's weird. And even people that are adept in the craft aren't sitting and analyzing other casters.
Yeah, well, I think when it comes to, when we talk about like daily happiness, this is something that's much more personal and much more deep than whatever our current method of making money and filling our days
Also,
is,
quick side note, Mom, if you're still watching, I hope you're not worried about me. I promise I'm fine.
He's gonna be okay. I'm watching out for him.
I've got a lot of people here helping me.
Yeah, Joe Cool. According to Twitch support, its Twitter account, they're still not up. So that's where we're staying. That was an hour ago. They said they still weren't up. So we're staying here. We're not switching over. But glad you guys are here. I think that it's interesting that you keep relating it back to casting, because to me, when I think about personal worth, self-worth, what gives me meaning and satisfaction throughout the day, it almost never has anything to do specifically with casting or with what my job is, because that just takes, and maybe it's because me personally, I have always looked around and seen so many things. There are more things I want to do with my life than I have time to do.
Yeah.
I would love to be a full-time soundtrack composer who makes music for movies and for video games, and I would also love to have my own band, and I would also love to play in somebody else's band, which is a completely different thing. Those are two completely separate paths to me, to play in someone else's band and to play in my own band. And then I'd also love to be in esports. I'd love to be a full-time streamer. I'd love to be a full-time YouTuber. I'd love to be a full-time caster.
Yeah.
I literally can maybe do 1.5 of those things, and right now it's the one is casting and the half is streaming.
Yeah.
And that's the music thing is just going downhill right now because I'm just not doing it as much as I used to do it.
It's so difficult.
And that's so but when I sit and think about what makes me happy, it doesn't actually have to do with what I'm doing as much as it has to do with maybe how I'm doing it, or honestly, it really does. The more I've realized it, the more it comes down to the people I'm with and the things.
Yeah.
If I'm surrounded by people who I love and care about and who love and care about me, it almost doesn't matter what I'm doing or where I'm at. I could be just a full-time garbage man, but if I've got this great community of garbage people around me, cool, I'm happy. It's, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I've hit this interesting an interesting challenge in my life, an interesting thing I'm trying to battle through, is that since this opportunity happened, the one thought I implanted in my brain is don't let this go. Don't waste this opportunity.
Sure, yeah.
Don't let something that's so rare, so few and far between, that people thrive to be in a position that I'm in and would kill to be in it.
Yeah.
Don't waste it away, which is why I spent so much time internally trying to improve. And I think that's also why I'm so in my own head about all of my satisfaction is, the problem with that is the satisfaction of me succeeding as a caster, I won't know for 6 years.
Yeah.
So how am I not going to be happy for the next 6 years?
It's funny.
So I think it's the minor things I need to also give myself, with you surrounding yourself with the community, I need to start and just quickly, because I know
sure.
but speaking with Lo, he's I think one of the bigger things that you don't recognize is how the positive impact you've had on people in your life.
Yeah.
I don't, and I think it's a weird humble thing for me, because I can't look at somebody and be like, I've made their lives better. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's probably won't.
Yeah.
It's probably more of a stubborn thing, because I feel like a dick being I've made this person better because I knew it was good for them.
Sure.
But in reality, I have made people's lives better in certain ways, whether it's ways that I meant to or not.
Yeah.
Some people's lives, they have admitted to me that it has improved because of something that I've done with them, or worked with them, or chatted with them, or just been a part of their life, or helped them get somewhere. And the more it's one of those weird, accepting your own, ego and pride. There's got to be that balance, because if you're constantly if you're just so humble, you'll never see your own value to the world, and you'll always feel invaluable.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Yeah, no, I think it's very interesting, though, the fact that you feel like if you are having trouble accepting that you've had a positive impact on people's lives, that also has the effect of looking at that you don't see it as a problem if you were to just suddenly not be there anymore. You know? So that it's weird how like it can go both ways, that like, when, you as someone who has, you're talking about having a positive impact on someone's life, like you being here with me at the same time when we're like going through this same sort of, oh, we don't know what we're doing, it's a brave new world as we both moved to LA and have no idea what we're doing. Like that meant so much to me. It was so valuable to me because, I had a friend who was in the same place I was, you know? And it's funny because in the same vein of what I was just talking about, like once you had like all these other these shows pop up like with Clash and stuff like that, and we had like 2 months or so where like I just never saw you. You were just never there. And there was part of me that was like hurt and was like, I thought there was a real, like, I needed that connection, and it was just suddenly gone, And it makes a lot of sense that, like, if you have trouble realizing that, like, I had a positive impact, like, Caleb's life was better because of me, it'd be very easy for you just to be like, well, I don't need to talk to him today because, he's not there. And also, and it's also tied up, I know you've told me before that, like, you struggle with, you've had people that have had just this, like, parasitic, like a expectation of what you're gonna do, and that makes you like be like, no, I need people not to do that or something, and to like go away. And so then I'm sitting there like, oh, but I don't want to be the parasitic person who's like, Carpet, you've really had an impact on my life. I need you around sometimes, I mean,
it's definitely a totally different situation. Like I think my parasitic relationships, and I don't know, I mean, it could be in my head, but they're like even just close friends that kind of like I feel like I go out of my way to make them comfortable, and like they're super passive aggressive or like kind of dickish or like just kind of ignorant to how they're affecting people around them.
Sure,
Make me feel terrible on accident, of course, but they're just not aware.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I here? Why am I sitting here being hyper aware of their emotions when they don't give a damn? Because they're just, and it's not their fault. They're just like, they just don't think that way. But like, here I am wasting all of my energy making sure they feel totally cozy. And they go ahead and say something that makes me feel like garbage. I'm like, oh, screw this then.
Yeah.
I think that happened just enough when I was like, not working on improving myself and working on helping everybody else, and I got burned a bunch of times. So I think I just went the extreme. I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm only gonna work on myself. So now I'm trying to slowly like take that step closer to somewhere in between, right? Like I wanna. I feel like I'm still aware of like when making people uncomfortable and stuff, but I'm a little. And it's funny because I think like my close friends could absolutely destroy me with words.
That's always true. That's always true for sure.
But like, I feel like for me, it's like tenfold. And anyone outside of that, I could give a damn. Like it's like such a contrast.
Yeah.
Like one time, me and Will had a small conflict, and I mean, I was kind of intoxicated, which didn't help. Didn't matter. I was destroyed, and he saw it, and like he had to come console me, and it was something so tiny. It was so dumb. He even said it. He's like, this doesn't change the way I think about you, but this pissed me off. Yeah. And I was like, oh, what have I done? And I was just wrecked. But then he's like, he realized, he's like, but anyone else that's like pretty big that most people would care about, like some huge streamer that you chatted with, you just didn't give a shit about. He's like, that's so weird. But it's also like, it's good because you're not letting people on the outside affect the way that you are. Like you're doing you. But I am invested in you, in people that are close to me, like you and Will and Blair and people that are really close to me. But I have a harder time like realizing that on command. I realize it when I'm around you, and I'm a much more like in the moment kind of feeler, I guess, which is I kind of think is bad. Not bad, but like could improve. Yeah. I think I should know how to look back and be like, that felt really good. Like I really enjoy this. Like I really want to make sure that we catch up soon.
It's interesting you talking about feeling when you're with people, you're happy to be with them and you're bonding with them and you can feel that connection, and then the moment they leave and they're not around anymore, how do you connect with them again? Yeah. Or how do I relate to them when they're not actually present? It's interesting because I kind of feel, you ever have those moments when you look in the mirror, like usually for me it's in a mirror. Sometimes it happens without a mirror too. But like you become super hyper aware of yourself. Yeah. And like you suddenly like, and it's like there's this like this you're looking at this image of this face that you see in the mirror every day, and you're like just suddenly super aware of the fact that face is right here, And people, when you're looking at me, I can't see that face right now, but you looking at me, you're seeing the face I see in the mirror every day, you know? And to think about the fact that, like, wait, Caleb Simmons is not this character I'm playing in a video game or something. Like, Caleb Simmons is me.
Yeah.
And it's this weird way that, like, it happens for a split second. I become super hyper aware, and my brain starts to expand, and I really feel like if I were to allow it to keep expanding, my brain would explode. You know, like it like legitimately feels like I'm terrified of this concept, and my brain grabs everything and pulls it back, and then I'm like, wait, what was I scared of? I don't remember, and I can't make myself feel it again. I guess I'll go to work. You know, and like I just kind of go on with the rest of my day. I wonder if it's similar to the way that you like. I wonder if your brain does the same sort of thing with like relating to people and letting people who are not around affect your emotional status when they're not present. Like that could just be it could honestly be rooted in fear. The idea of like, I don't want other people to have that hold on me, because I've had that. Like I've definitely been in a place where people have that sort of impact on me, and then I've gotten brutally hurt by it.
Yeah.
And it's taken years to recover from, you know, and it could definitely be a big defense mechanism, you know?
It's really interesting, and this is a quick aside only because I know we're probably going to move on kind of soon.
Mm-hmm.
I can just poke at this idea, and then we don't have to talk about it.
Sure.
But it's something I want to talk to you about later, so this is kind of like our little bookmark.
Okay.
So when I was talking to Will one night, one of our other roommates sat down, and I'm not a spiritual or religious person, and I realized like one of the we were talking about like my personal happiness and what does it take to get me happy at the end of the day, and he is a spiritual person, and he kind of linked happiness to his belief in spirituality and that's something greater and in the future, and a lot of my fears sometimes at night are like my mortality, right?
Yeah.
The weight of my mortality and how short it can feel, and how I feel. I'm 25 and I feel like I can't even remember anything 2 years ago. It feels like it was even 15 years ago. I don't even know if it was a memory because I don't attach time to things, and it makes things almost more scary. I'm like, shit, I'm already 25, and like it feels like it's been 2 years. So I find interesting the extra weight that I've inadvertently given myself by kind of detaching myself from any kind of belief of that nature. Just the weight of mortality that I have, that I deal with. Of just like, oh God, like that fear of death. Like it's, and not to get too dark right now, and this is more something we can talk about later.
Sure.
But I joked about touching the idea of like, maybe even if I don't believe in it, I'll convince myself to, just so I can not worry about that. Even if I just trick myself until the end, I just don't want to worry about it.
Dude, you're hitting on like
super interesting.
Like I am someone, I'm a professing Christian. If you put a gun in my head and say that Jesus isn't real, I'm not gonna be able to do it. You're gonna have to shoot me in the head. Yeah. But I've struggled with doubt for the last 4 years or so.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is rooted in exactly what you're describing. Of if I was somebody who was terrified of my mortality, what would I do? I would convince myself that it didn't actually end at death.
Yep.
And I would come up with some way to convince, like some sort of system that made sense for what happens after death. This is so interesting. We're touching on this because I actually thought of this earlier. I was sitting there playing. I'm gonna pull up the song just because I feel like it, and I was singing. I remember this song that I just hadn't heard in a long time, and I was like, I want to listen to this song again. And I was singing the song, playing it on guitar, and then I went and listened to this version of it. And this is a song my grandfather, my Texas grandfather, my father, who lived in Dallas, used to sing all the time. Have you heard this song?
Yeah.
Home on the Range, right? The cowboy song. And my grandfather passed away back in August. Or not this August, like 3 years ago, but passed away. And he was the first grandparent I lost. And then this past season, just before OCS LAN, I lost my other grandfather in Atlanta. And I remembered this song, and I was sitting there and I was singing the song and kind of getting sentimental and like remembering the ways I heard this song and the places, and like just having all these memories of my grandparents' house back in Dallas, and like this cowboy blanket that I kept with me until I was probably 12. That was literally just a rag by the end of it, because it was my blankie thing,
Yeah.
And it had cowboys all over it and stuff like that. It was just Texas, right? That was my thing.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking about this song, and then thinking about people who had lost their grandparents, and the one thing that people always say when they lose a close relative is like, man, I know that I know he's not here with us anymore, but I can feel him in spirit, and I know that he's looking down on me and he's happy with where I'm at. And I realized in that moment, I have never had that thought. I have never once about either of my grandparents been like, they're up in heaven looking down at me. Like, honestly don't think I believe that that's a thing. I honestly don't think that dead relatives or people who have died ever look back down. If heaven's real and if God is real and if the world is a thing, why the fuck would they ever want to look back down at Earth, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're with God. Why would you possibly ever want to look back down, you know? And it's but it was a really funky thing that, like, realized that, like, that's a coping mechanism people have of, like, I lost this person and I can't let them go, so I'm going to imagine that they're still here with me in spirit. And that's just something I've just never dealt with, you know? And I've also not had a parent die, I feel like, or a parent or, like, a sibling. If, like, someone that close to you dies, like, maybe that's when that comes up. But
that thought has crossed my mind a lot these past few months of, like, what am I going to do if somebody close to me passes? Oh, my God. And it's funny because when I was talking to my roommate, you know, he brought the, like, thinking about the fact that he's like, so would you believe that when, like, you're done? I'm like, yeah, like, you're done, like, that's it.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's absolutely horrifying. I'm like, tell me about it.
Yeah.
I live with this thought every day for like the last 12 years.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, it's not just me, but everybody, when they're done, it's done. Oh God. And everybody I love and care about. And I actually, like, I have an immense amount of respect for those that can keep that train of thought and also accept and go forward from there.
Yeah.
And think of everything positively from that moment on. And then still reach out to others around them. And it's not that I disrespect those that don't.
Yeah.
But I have an extra level of relatable respect of, like, how have you done this? You know, like, how have you accepted this reality and then still looked positively, woken up happy, and felt good with the end of your day? Like, it's unbelievable, and it's something I'm striving to get to. It's
so interesting because, like, for me, it's the thing is, even if I put myself into your position of being like, I don't know, like, I'm living with this mortality and it's terrifying me that I'm just eventually going to die. Or, like, thinking about, like, you know, being in that place in your bed where you're like, I'm dealing with the fact that I'm going to die, and, like, I don't know, I feel like alone and just cold and in this dark room. My brain immediately goes to, I can feel the cold. My eyeballs that consumed light all day are now consuming darkness. How are they doing that? And it tries to grasp me, like, if I'm gonna die, I want to experience everything there is to experience, and I don't want to let any moment go for granted.
Yeah.
And even this being alone in this room can be an experience that I can hold on to and cherish. And
you're a god.
that's where my brain goes.
God.
Is like don't let this life go. It's right here. It's here in front of you, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like we could talk about this for a long time, but we're getting to that point where we need to go to the next topic. But
to wrap it up real quick, I think a big part of it is learning to find accomplishments in much more short term. Everyone has long-term goals.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, not to die is a big one.
Sure.
But everyone has a place they want to be in X amount of time. And you're never going to be 60 tomorrow. So there's no point in trying to value yourself on where you're going to be when you're 60. Because it's not going to happen for another 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. And another one is, I think, looking to see your impact, your positive impact on those around you. Because I think it's something that I'm struggling with trying to identify personally. But it has brought me a lot more daily satisfaction. And it helps me go to bed knowing tomorrow I can do more of that. Tomorrow I can help somebody be a better person, or I can help somebody feel better about themselves. And hopefully that can, you know, the stupid pay it forward.
Yeah.
As cliche as it is,
it
really does give you self-gratification.
Yeah.
So that's I think my next step.
And I think you've heard me say this before. I think as long as when it comes to the whole religion thing, you know, of like, is this a coping mechanism? Is it the truth? I don't know. I think as long as you are pursuing truth in your life and trying to figure out what is true and what is my purpose and stuff like that, as long as, like, that to me, if you are struggling with, like, if you don't know what you believe, if you believe that the world's just here and that there's no God or whatever, like, still be, like, pursuing that ultimate meaning can give you that long-term goal you need if you don't have one for whatever reason, you know. So it's something that we can go on and on about, but to make things a little bit less dreary for anyone who's gotten downed by the deep dark conversation, we're gonna talk about music after this.
Yeah, sorry guys.
We've got some. No, don't. I think it was good. But if they're still like in a I have too much to think about, we're gonna talk about some cool music. We're gonna come back from break. It's gonna be great.
We'll make it happy.
We'll make it good. Yeah. You guys all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Pull me closer in the backseat of your Rover that I know you can't afford. afford it. But that tattoo on your shoulder, pull the sheets right off the corner of the mattress that you stole from your roommate back in Boulder. We ain't ever getting older. 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 So baby, pull me closer in the backseat of your Rover that I know you can't afford. But that tattoo on your shoulder, pull the sheets right off the corner of the mattress that you stole from your roommate back in Boulder. We ain't ever getting older. 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 No, we ain't ever getting older. No, we ain't ever getting older.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Freestyle with Wave Punk and Findable Carpet. It's been a fun show so far. We've talked about, so many things. Talked about esports, talked about TV, talked about self-meaning and worth and what you do when you can't sleep at night. And now we're going to talk about some
This is the weirdest
music.
talk show.
This is a great talk show. I think as long as you just like us, you'll enjoy this show. Also, shout out to Kyle Roderick in chat. He's one of my best friends from college.
Hi,
And
Kyle.
he doesn't tune in very often, but it's good to see him here.
The
So.
internet is the best place to fight about religion. You're right, Kyle.
Mhm.
You'll get nothing but level-headed individuals speaking logic.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they'll respect. and if you present a profound argument, they'll actually change their opinion. You know.
They'll respect you.
Exactly. So, Carpet and I bonded early on over like a sharing of music and also of guitar. And Carpet particularly likes math rock.
Easy.
And stuff like of that genre. And I found this band the other day. I was sitting here with a mutual friend of ours. We were sitting in my room. We were talking about stuff, and I was scrolling through my Facebook feed, and he's like, "Oh, Pliny. Have you heard Pliny?"
Yep.
Oh, damn it.
But
Okay.
I haven't listened to them a lot, so
Okay,
you can still
cool.
show me. I know of them because they show up on my random music.
They were in town doing a concert last night
God
for $15.
damn it.
And I saw the event. One of my friends from here was going. He's like, "Oh, Pliny's really good stuff." And I was like, heard of him, and I like went and like I clicked on it and I listened to like maybe 30 seconds of the music, and I was like, "This is Carpet's type of music." I'll talk to him about
You're
this on
not
the talk
wrong.
show.
You're not wrong.
The funny thing is, I actually hadn't really listened to this very much, so this is gonna be fun.
Anything math rock is just always so interesting.
Yeah.
It's like reading a book in my head. It's like you can like watch what they're trying to do with it, and you can see the different layers. It's so cool.
Kyle's like, "Now I got my shout out. I'm off to bed."
Now people know my name.
Yep.
Yay! The streamer said my name.
I didn't listen. I just like skipped to the middle, and it was like, "Oh, math rock, cool.
Yep.
This is a cool build."
We'll see if they uniquely. This is cheery as hell. I like it, especially after that conversation.
I like the one thing I like about this is my brain doesn't naturally associate it with a time signature, which as a musician who's studied music a lot, I always appreciate it when an artist can make a song that doesn't like fit into something that I
Yeah.
like already like I would have to sit here and think about the time signature for a bit to like nail it
Yeah.
down.
But no, I did not do music in school. Oh, I actually know. I do know this song. So whenever my playlist is done, it starts showing. It starts playing me random artists.
Yeah.
And this song, I think, is one of the ones that always shows up. It's like you have that heavy like da going on with this like some nice melodic.
Yeah. Good count. It's good.
Contrast.
Yeah. It's contrapuntal. It's counterpoint.
What a word.
Yeah, contrapuntal music is music that has counterpoint is like two things that kind of doing different complementary things. So this is very genty, yeah.
Yeah.
This is cool stuff. This is fun. I listened to that, and I think this is the one I put in my playlists. This is definitely good music for us to talk over too.
Yeah.
For future episodes. I almost played it earlier, and I was like, no, I have to. I put it in the freestyle playlists, but I was like, no, I gotta wait.
Gotta wait. Yeah. I can always appreciate somebody that can take like a heavy, kind of aggressive in your face idea and still totally be okay with like. I have heard this. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Whoa. What is that effect? It almost sounds like TalkBox, but
I don't think that is that. I mean, it's like a synth of some sort.
Yeah, just like a synth, like a weird bassy synth.
This has got it's very scooped sound with like some magnified overtones, but like I don't even know it almost to me at first it didn't sound like a guitar. That just sounded like a synth.
Yeah. Sounds like an old 70s synth bass.
Yeah.
Like almost like deliberately bad, but
yeah.
not.
Oh, it's amazing. It's interesting. So I've had this conversation with a few people of late about music and especially with like the whole concept of an audiophile, somebody who's very, very into the listening to the active listening to of digital content, or even not necessarily digital content, but of recorded music. And the audiophile community, oftentimes my perception of the audiophile community, as someone who does not actually consider himself part of that community, and does not want to consider himself part of it because of this perception, I perceive it as a community of people that have decided that there is an objective measure for the way that music should be consumed. That there is a significant that there are specific headphones or specific amps or specific means of listening to music that are superior, objectively superior to other forms of music, which to me as a musician is just not a thing. Like to me, I have these crappy Samsung earbud things. Oh, this is not actually them. This is the one I replaced them with once they finally broke. But I had these Samsung earbuds I got back in like 2012 that I listened to music on for like 4 years until they finally broke. They were crap. They came with a Samsung Galaxy S3 for free. But I just liked the way they listened to music. Like they had certain frequencies completely cut out. They were like a very limited range, but they had like a specific boost and like kind of the low mids that I was like, oh, this is really cool sounding. I like these. Yeah. They're crappy headphones, and I would listen to things on them all the time, you know? And it was not better or worse. It was just different, you know?
Yeah. I used to be kind of audiophilic.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely was never that bad, but I always wanted super nice speakers, and I still kind of do. Like, if it's gonna be something in my house or something from my computer, like I'll spend the extra $100, $200 to make it like a pretty solid set of speakers.
Sure, yeah.
Especially if it needs to project.
Yeah.
I think anything that needs to project, unless you want it to sound tinny, crappy, and poopy, you want it to fill a room, you're gonna have to spend a couple bucks. But when it comes to headphones, like I got the Arctis 7s.
Yeah.
And I was more than happy and willing to spend $700 on a god pair of headphones.
Yeah, yeah.
But when I realized like what it was being used for and how unnecessary it was to make them that perfect,
yeah,
I'm not sitting there analyzing music. Like if I was a DJ or somebody that did music on my computer, maybe right.
Yeah.
You kind of need to hear those sounds from a very intimate
yeah,
location.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I'm just enjoying music, and I don't want to break music down to that much. It's kind of like when you become a chef, you don't enjoy food as much. You know, like I kind of was like pulling back. I don't want to turn into that. Like if I can't hear this music at its prime, it's not worth listening to. It's like, that kind of takes away from the music itself. Like, well, shouldn't you just enjoy the music?
And the truth is that if you want to hear like music in its like objectively best form, you have to find the system, like find like the speakers or the headphones that the person who made the file mixed it on, and then you're hearing its actually true version. Because if you play his file through anything other than what he mixed it on, it's going to inevitably come out different in some way. And like I own the headphones you have on right now, the HyperX Cloud 2s, and I own these Beyerdynamics DT770s, which these are kind of the industry standard for studio mixing headphones. Okay, these are like $325. Those are like $80. I enjoy listening to music on both of them. And the same song, like they'll just listen to it on one, listen to it on the other, and be like, "Ooh, this is cool. I like the way that it sounds. It's different on this one, or it's different on that one."
Yeah.
I'll usually will go with these because it is kind of just a more complete sound. It gives a kind of a more true resonation of all the different frequencies that are in a song. But that one cuts some out, and sometimes it's fun, you know.
Yeah.
And that's an okay thing with music to listen to things. Like to me, an audiophile should be someone who can hear all the differences and appreciates all of it, but is not someone who is picky. You know, that's the audiophile community gets to me there. Yeah. What was the song you wanted me to listen to?
Oh, okay. So we're gonna get real quick. You guys can judge me if you'd like. We're gonna get weeby for a second. So I have become actually obsessed with an anime recently called Boku no Hero Academia, which is My Hero Academia.
Okay.
And on their original soundtrack, there's a song called You Say Run.
You Say Run.
It's going to take about... you're going to have to listen to like 1.5 to 2 minutes to hear
Yuki Hayashi?
Yes. So I watched a video recently that kind of broke down why this song is so good. You know, because there was a little like YouTube phenomenon going on where this song went with almost anything ever. People were putting it to like intros to SpongeBob. They were putting it to fight scenes from Dragon Ball Z. And it was doing so much stuff. And somebody I watched a YouTube video and I kind of wanted to talk with you about why it's so good that it works with everything. That it's like kind of perfectly generic for an inspirational moment.
If I search You Say Run on YouTube, the top result is You Say Run goes with anything.
Yeah. So do You Say Run, just My Hero Academia. Or just You Say Run OST.
My Hero Academia, cool.
Or My Hero Academia OST.
This?
It should start off on a low. Yeah.
Okay.
So... The guy that wrote the music for this soundtrack did a really cool thing where there's a very particular melody that he put in like almost every soundtrack. And the video goes and kind of breaks down, which is really cool. And it attaches you to that melody accidentally on both ups, downs, mids, and everything. This is like the action scene. And it's just like, you know, feel good action, like something great's about to happen, like you feel inspired. And it kind of hits like, I always love hearing guitars mixed with strings. And then like horns, like it's just a really cool like rendition of like guttural, like I want to go kick some ass. I don't care what it is, but I want to go kick some ass. But I want you to hear like when the actual melody kicks in. It takes about 1.5 minutes. I'll tell you when it's coming up. But you know, when you're writing for a show, you need to have a song that will be repeated throughout episodes, but they can do different things. Mm-hmm. And there's something about this song. Whenever it comes on the show, I get goosebumps. Right? It's just like, and I realized that I think
this particular song.
Yeah, this particular song.
Okay.
And I think it's just like mixed with what's going on in the show. The animation's very colorful and vibrant and expressive and explosive and action-packed. Mixed with this kind of like cheery action music, they do such a good job. And like usually this one, like somebody's getting like super stoked and screaming and getting really stuff like that. And like I didn't realize that a lot of my appeal for the show is this damn soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like even this, right? You'll hear when the melody comes in, and that's when you're like, all right, there it is. But I thought it was cool. Like there are songs that are so much more of a lull, and like they have like more of like a piano driving it, and it's the same melody. But they introduce it to you in like sad moments and happier moments, and like super depressing moments, and then like dangerous moments. And then in the second episode, this is what the guy was saying. Like they bring in this song, and I think it's coming up right here. Yep. That melody. Mm-hmm. Like that all of a sudden, like it ties everything together, especially in the episode. And I don't mean to get too sentimental about an anime, but like it's that inspirational, like everything is getting tied together, and then it goes back into like now this like everything's built up, and it's just such a good build up.
Yeah.
Like you feel like it's built up already for the first 1.5 minutes, and then it like brings it all together. Like it feels so good.
I mean, it's hard to. So I'll try to explain why I think that this. So you're saying that they create different variations of that same melody for literally any emotion they need.
It's almost like he takes that melody and like
they'll have like the slow like piano version.
Yeah.
And then we'll have like the.
But it's subtle. Like it's almost like the tempo and everything's so different that you don't even notice that that's what he's doing.
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
You're like,
Yeah, it'll be like sway slow down.
and it's like such a cool connection that I feel like it's one of those you didn't realize. That's why you subconsciously felt like that moment tied together the whole episode, because all of a sudden all the songs and music you've been listening to, attached with all the emotions, come together in this one climactic like da-da-da-da, and you're like, oh God, yes.
Yeah.
It's
So
cool.
I'm gonna pull up a different soundtrack to kind of that isolates the idea I want to talk about, because the song starts on what I personally as a composer, this is not like theory that you're going to get taught in any class, but I personally refer to as the melancholy chord. It's the chord that, and melancholy to me, I'm using this as this idea of an emotion of you want something and you know that you like it's this idea of this yearning of this I need this thing, kind of this intangible desire for something more, you know, or this like it's bittersweet, like I'm losing somebody who I care about and I know it's a okay thing for them to go and that it's going to be a piece, but I'm sad about it, but it's also the beginning of something new. Like
very
this
specific definition for melancholy.
Yeah, melancholy is like the best American word I can think of. Sehnsucht is a German word that kind of means a little bit more close to what I'm trying to talk about, but America doesn't really have a word for what I'm talking about. This song is from the new Tarzan movie, and it's absolutely the best part of the movie. It's actually the only part of the movie that's worth watching, is the first 10 minutes.
Ouch.
Just to hear this song.
Also, this broke.
That's okay. So, this is the home chord, 1, okay? And the song just sits on this one chord. Okay, and it just establishes where we are in the piece, right? And it's this gorgeous... I love African singing. African singing culture is the best singing culture. Like,
this reminds me a little bit of Ori.
It is very, yes. It's just so pure, right? So there's the one chord.
Yeah.
And this chord. This is the melancholy chord.
Yeah.
Okay.
That like tension.
Yeah, this is flat 6. This is the chord. It's on the flat 6th scale degree, and then it just the song just goes back and forth between these two chords, between home and this you know, this is where we are. This is our home base, but I have also this yearning for this other thing over in this chord, and it just goes back and forth between these two chords, and it's that's what creates that tension, that like, oh, there's something more beyond this song.
Yeah.
And your song, this one you brought up, it starts on that flat 6 chord, okay, and which is interesting because it kind of flips this idea around on it. So if I can find, that's your flat 6 chord, and then it walks up to 1, and then it drops down to 5, and so it does this thing where it's using a variation on the lamento bass line, which is the oldest chord progression in history. It dates back to the Renaissance. And it's flipping it around. And the lamento bass line is a very kind of plotting. We know exactly what's happening. Things are getting bad. And it's starting somewhere in the middle and this reverse playing of it. And it's starting on the melancholiest chord, and then on the weakest beat, kind of like one of the weaker beats, the 3 is where we're having the 1 chord happen, and then it goes back down to the bottom of the chord progression and kind of wraps up. And so it's got this like you can circle through this chord progression over and over again, but because it starts on that melancholy chord, which has so much emotion wrapped up in it, especially in Western culture, you can make any emotion out of that moment.
Yeah.
You can make happy moments, you can make sad moments, you can make the I don't know, anything else you want to talk about. And because it's such a simple, the melody is so simple here. It's just bum 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 bum. It's like the melody basically is that na da da da, which is a double neighbor figure. It's just you have the 2 notes at the end of the same dun dun, and then you have dun dun. So if you were to write it on music, it would be like just drop down 1 note, go to the note that's above the original note, and then return to the original note. So this is kind of this S figure.
Yeah.
That's a very simple figure, and you can take that particular combination of notes, that shape, and put it anywhere throughout a soundtrack. And you'll be like, whoa, like it's everywhere. Like this is something they've been doing, like Beethoven. Oh my gosh, like Beethoven's Fifth, the piece that everybody knows when they talk about Beethoven, right? Let me see. I just typed in Beethoven. What's the first thing on Moonlight Sonata, right? This, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's heard this.
Yeah.
That pattern. There's the drop in the third.
Yeah.
Here. There's the other pattern. There's 2 things about this. It's just the dun 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 dun, that shape.
Yeah.
And then it's the rhythmic or information of ba 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 ba, right? And as you listen to because it goes na da na da, That's an idea. And the ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba is a separate idea. So, like,
Yeah.
here the notes aren't the same, but the rhythm's the same. Ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba. It's just the first thing.
Yeah.
Everywhere, right? And as you get into the piece, it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
I can skip to anywhere in this piece, and you'll hear that motif in like every voice, you know. And so when you create a good, simple motif, you can put it into anything you want in any sort of variation. And that's what they've done with this theme. It's really cool that they've created this simple motif that they can put into a piano, they can put into a guitar, they can put into a voice.
Yeah.
And it creates all sorts of cool stuff.
Especially because when you're looking at a soundtrack for a show,
Yeah.
you need to be able to reuse the soundtrack and it
Exactly.
fit and be able to still give you some interesting emotion. And obviously, this is the climax part of an episode. You're not going to play this when somebody dies, right? This is not. You play this when someone is growing or some sort of growth. And again, like the show, I encourage you to watch it. I think you'd like it a lot, just in general, especially like the message of the show is really cool. It's very like live for others. Like I want to help and become like a beacon of something for the world.
Yeah.
And it's just it's well written.
Yeah.
It's well paced, and the soundtrack alone, like as somebody that appreciates music, I realized about five episodes in, I'm like, why am I getting so excited for this damn fight?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there it is. That's
Yep.
why. All right, I get it now.
Yep.
It's like this damn soundtrack like keeps getting me over and over again. But then when I saw that guy break it down, of him taking that melody to the and when I realized that he'd slowed it down and put it into like he'd gotten your head into that soundtrack, that melody, gotten that part of like you're watching that melody almost like the feel and the emotion like hit different tones.
Man, I wish I had access to that computer right now, because I've had to do this exact thing with melodies when I was writing soundtracks for video games, that I had to like go and take a specific motif and they'd be like, huh, this is a cool melody you wrote, but like I don't know if I could like hear this sad or something. I'd be like, watch me, I got you. And I would take the exact same melody and just make it happy, I'd make it sad, I'd make it battle music. Those are kind of the three that you need to go, the three basic moods you need to be able to create. So it was it's a really fun thing to be able to do, to take a specific musical idea and change it up. A similar idea, I'm just because we're on the subject of taking a song and putting it into a different context.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite artists, Ollie, recently just covered Britney Spears, but as Britney Spears Toxic, but as like a solo piano piece.
Yeah.
And it's this hilariously.
It's getting late
Jeez.
to give you up. I
This is
took
toxic.
a sip from my devil's
That's amazing.
cup.
It's great how he just goes on with taste of your lips and stuff. Yeah, it's fun to take.
I love
music.
people do that with music though.
Yeah.
Like when they completely change the tonality of something.
Yep.
Hold on, I want to see if this. Crap, I really want to find the other song.
Carpet's looking for music.
Uh-oh.
Will he find it? We just listen to Beethoven while you do that. You know how I said I could skip to anywhere in the song and find that motif? This is the one part of the song you can't do that in, because this is
hilarious.
This is a very different idea.
That's
the song.
really funny.
But then it has the descending thirds. There it comes again. Da, 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 da.
Star Wars.
Bom, 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 ba-dum. What did you find what you're looking for?
No, I'll just show you later. Essentially, it's like in that video, like he picks apart that melody in the different tones. I don't
Sure.
want to do it now,
Yeah.
here, but I'll show you like right after.
I would be very interested to watch.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I don't mean to get too weeby, but like there's something about a show that does both the animation, the storyline, and the music well. That, like there's a reason that it's becoming so popular. It's like right now I think like number 2 on Crunchyroll, and it's like number 2 in Shonen Jump, and it's
Maybe I should watch it.
it's a very well known at the moment. Like it's really taking off, but I feel like that's one of the massive subtleties that makes it so good. Like it's like a subtlety to most people, and it's not a subtlety to a lot of others, which is like goddamn.
Yeah.
I really want to get excited over this, and I have no choice because this music is goddamn good.
Yeah.
So cool.
No, music shapes film for me.
Yeah.
Like, it is legitimately the show Ruby that I really like to watch, the kind of like half anime show that Rooster Teeth produces. The thing I love about it is that they have a theme for each of their characters. And every time that character is doing something, their theme is playing. And that's
pretty cool.
It's part of why I just
noticed your little light set up here.
Oh, yeah, there's a little table behind the thing.
There's a table on a bed with a light on it.
That table used to sit underneath this desk, and I couldn't have it sitting under the desk for me to play Destiny on this computer, so I kind of moved it. That's why the consoles are on the desk, the bed as well.
Oh, fair enough.
So everything kind of moves around.
Fair enough. You got Destiny for PC?
Yep.
Keyboard, mouse?
Yep.
How do you like it?
It's great. Having a blast.
I'm probably going to try and play some today. I might tell when I get home.
Let's do it. Let's have some fun. But ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great episode of the Freestyle here on YouTube Edition. Was a lot of fun.
YouTube Edition.
Was a crazy experience. We'll definitely go back to Twitch for next week. But yeah, for the meantime, while Twitch was down, it was kind of cool to boot up here. So
Yep,
it was good stuff. But you guys all have a good week, and we will see you all later. Peace out. Stay safe, and have a good night.